There is no Biden return to normalcy. How recounts strengthen democracy. Chicago tries to cancel Thanksgiving, and Manchin versus AOC. Welcome, friends, to the Buck Sexton Show. My, oh my. Friday the 13th. Of course, here we are. It feels like a Friday the 13th, doesn't it? Let's dive into it. Biden was supposed to be, all along, a return to normalcy. That's what we were told. Now, it's not yet clear that he will be the president of the United States. It could happen. You could even say it's likely. But we're already coming to a recognition, I think, as a country, or at least anybody who's being honest and who's paying attention to all of this, that the libs are going to still be crazy when all is said and done. After these legal challenges, after these recounts, once all that's passed by, you will see that they're still calling Republicans Nazis. They're still saying that Republicans are racists and white supremacists. We're still going to have a COVID pandemic. There are going to be all of these challenges, and the discourse is not going to be magically elevated. It's not going to happen. There's no reason to believe this will happen other than it was a narrative that was pushed relentlessly by the Democrats and their allies in the media. Because especially in a year where everything feels so strange and unsettling and we're all so anxious because of this pandemic and the lockdowns and the economic costs that it has incurred. With all of that going on, anyone who says we're going to go back to normal, you'll listen to them. You say, oh, well, wouldn't that be great? But I'm here to tell you that the Democratic Party's idea of normal is not what a normal person's idea of normal is. The Democrat Party has become radical. It has become left-wing. They seek to purge ideas from the public square that they do not like, not to defeat them in the marketplace of ideas, to actually expel them from that marketplace, to prohibit them from even being able to show up and try to sell their goods, so to speak. Joe Biden is looking at a number of far-left Democrats for very senior positions in his government in order to keep the base happy. And again, this is all under the assumption that the legal challenges that Trump brings are not yet successful, or are not successful, rather, in the end. With all of this going on, though, we can already see how this would shape up. And let's even say that Trump continues for 4 more years in office. Whatever the case may be, there is no normal that Democrats pretend we're going to go back to. It doesn't exist. Do you remember what it was like for 8 years of the Obama administration? Anyone who disagreed with Obama was basically called a racist in the media. I mean, that was the most common tactic of all. Oh, you don't like Obamacare? You don't like the Affordable Care Act? You must be racist. You think the IRS was targeting conservative groups in 2011 and 2012, in an election year, by the way, under the Obama administration? That sounds a little racist. Was there any bipartisan spirit or effort at that point in time? No, not at all. It didn't exist. There was no reaching across the aisle to the other side. They weren't trying to heal the divide in this country. But you'll notice a trend here. Obama ran in 2008 as the guy that's going to bring the country together. He was transcending politics despite being a politician. And then in 2012, it was like, elections have consequences. Deal with it. I win, you lose. And it was really the rub Republicans' faces in it election, when Mitt Romney got crushed. But we also remember the House. We remember the House changed hands during the Obama administration. And then eventually the Senate changed hands. The American people started to say, this left-wing new age of politics that Obama brought about wasn't really all that it was supposed to be. Didn't really work out the way we were promised. Guess what? Right now, everybody who, as I've said, is being honest and is surveying the political scene is coming to the following conclusion. Even with a Biden victory, we're still going to be a country that is deeply divided. There will be government gridlock. There'll be fierce fights over spending priorities and over the debt ceiling and over the national debt and what we should do with our foreign policy and how quickly we should get out, if we ever get out of some of these Middle Eastern and South Asian quagmires we're in. There are going to be all these fights and debates. What exactly was the return to normalcy? Oh, we won't have Trump's tweets. Well, that's not even true. There are reports today, I saw some in the Daily Mail, that the president is pretty openly speaking about how he's going to run again in 4 years. So you'll have a Biden administration that will have Trump effectively running a presidency in exile, right? A presidency in opposition, with all of the media clout and all of the attention that he brings and his supporters bring. And what? Joe Biden's going to use his tremendous political skills to navigate us through this? The most fascinating thing that you will see, guaranteed, if and when Joe Biden ascends into the presidency in January, will be the 6-month period after that, where the media tries so hard to explain why Biden has been such a great transition for America, especially on the issue of COVID. We're still going to have cases. Things are still going to be exactly what they are right now. But for the left, politics is a religion. It is their religion replacement. And so even when they have a false prophet, even when they have to pretend some clown is their temporary messiah to save the country, they're willing to do it. Because what else do they have? What else do they fall back on? This is why they're shrill lunatics instead of happy warriors, as we are on the right, who are just going through this process and will accept whatever it ends up being once we've gotten the facts and once we are satisfied that the process is completed. That's all. That's all. But I find it fascinating, the idea of a return to normal. What was that normalcy we seek so much? The normalcy of, the Obama administration, right, where we had a disastrous foreign policy, an anemic economic recovery out of a recession, a lot of just reckless demagoguery around police and around racism in America, and the constant construction of straw men, right? Obama's favorite tactic was always, you can either agree with me or there are two sides to this argument. My side and then those evil morons who don't know anything known as Republicans. Why won't they meet me in the middle? I'm always right and they're a bunch of racist idiots. That was the tone from the Obama administration. The media propped them up the whole time. The idea that we're moving away from fascism, that will be a return to normalcy under a Biden administration. Think about that for a moment. What is it like in fascist countries? Is the media 90% opposed to the ruling regime, or is the media 90% plus favorable to slobbering over, giving foot massages to the regime? Which one is it? We all know the answer to that. So where is the greater danger of authoritarianism? Where is the greater danger of your freedom being extinguished? It's, of course, in a circumstance where the media is in love with the people in charge because they reflect their own views and because they like their ability to wield power along their same ideological lines. That should be troubling to people, that we don't have a true opposition press or even a press that is focused on the job of providing facts and data without fear or favor. That's all laughable now. No one really can believe that. No intelligent person believes that's what the mainstream media, the corporate media does. So I'm just saying there's no return to normalcy. That was always a fiction. That was always a fraud. And then there's the other argument I wanted to make to you today, which is that all the things that we're seeing right now, while they're comparing it to Nazi Germany, and they're saying these insane things about the Trump legal challenges, the recounts. Look, the president, he's got a little bit of bluster in him, as we know, and he's made some pretty sweeping claims, but he hasn't taken any action on those claims other than send lawyers into court. And now those claims are being tested, and we're seeing what comes out of all of this. If Democrats care so much about our sacred democracy, if they believe so much in what's going on here, they should welcome this. This is, in a sense, the verification process for who really won this election. After these legal challenges make their way through, if Joe Biden ends up being the winner by vote count, well, then he'll really be the winner. right? Now, people might still have their concerns about fraud that was not found, or they might have other beliefs. That's fine. But you and I both know that if Trump turns around, if his team turns around and says, all right, we've done everything we can, the states have certified it, we're going to move on. And moving on doesn't mean forgetting about everything we've seen over the last 4 years. It means we continue forward, including the president continuing forward, then as a private citizen, but perhaps one who will run again in 4 years. And if not, has a political movement to continue with. So there's no reason to be frightened in this moment for our democracy. That's actually the opposite of what we should be feeling. This is great. Our court system is working. Our process is working. We're going to find out answers here. Then we'll look to what the actual outcome may be. And then we'll go forward as a country. But we're not going into some newfound unity and normalcy, and we're all going to be friends, and we're going to shake hands, sing songs, and pat each other on the back. Yeah, we're all Americans, and ultimately we all treat each other with a basic decency, and we're in this together in one way or another. But the fights are going to continue. The gridlock in Congress is going to continue. Republicans and Democrats are far apart on a whole range of critical issues. That's not going to change. So let's live in reality here, my friends. And the reality is that normalcy with a Biden administration, or any administration for that matter, is a media fiction. There's no such thing. I recently got a crash course in home title theft, and you better pray this crime never happens to you because it can ruin you financially. It goes after your most valuable asset, your home. Here's how it works. The bad guys, cyber thieves, they find your home's title online. They look in the cloud on servers because that's where it's stored. Then they use a quitclaim deed to kick you off, put themselves on, and take out loans against your home's equity. You often won't find out about this until you receive a payment demand in the mail or perhaps even a foreclosure notice. The usual identity theft services do not protect you. You have to go with the professionals I trust at Home Title Lock. All you have to do is go to HomeTitleLock.com, use the promo code RADIO. That'll get you 30 free days of protection. You can also check online to see if you're a victim of this crime and don't even know it. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code RADIO. You'll get 30 free days of protection. Go to HomeTitleLock.com today.
What are these false claims of widespread election fraud doing to our country right now?
They appear to be motivated in part because the president doesn't like to lose and never admits loss. I'm more troubled by the fact that other Republican officials who clearly know better are going along with this, are humoring him in this fashion. It is one more step in delegitimizing not just the incoming Biden administration, but democracy generally. And that's a dangerous path.
That's the exact opposite of what's happening. It doesn't delegitimize democracy to bring legal challenges in court. Once again, the Democrats, the libs, Obama, they refuse to separate Trump's political rhetoric from Trump's actions. What are the actions being taken? Lawyers are going before judges under oath, providing evidence, making their case, and responding to what the decisions are in each individual circumstance in all these different states. That strengthens democracy. What's the problem? Should we not have court systems? Should there not be a mechanism for checking on election results to make sure they are on the up and up? They've already moved to the point in their minds, clearly, and in the way they're talking about this, where they are treating this as though Trump has rejected certified state results and legal challenges in courts and is pretending like none of that matters. That's not what's happening. They're the ones that are providing a false picture of all of this. Obama, unsurprisingly, you've got to read, by the way, the New York Times. I read a snippet of it. The New York Times review of books. There's another Obama memoir coming out because that's what the world needs. It's over 700 pages. If you really want to fall asleep fast, I'm sure open yet another Obama memoir. This guy writes, he wrote 2 autobiographies before he was 50. He really likes himself a lot. But it's amazing. The New York Times review of books. I've never read something so saccharine, so worshipful about a book in my. It was like, Obama's the most decent and wonderful man, and his writing is so brilliant that it's like the words are making love to my eyes. I mean, I'm not really exaggerating. It's worth reading the New York Times review of books about Obama. The devotion that they have to this guy, it's unbelievable. I mean, it would be embarrassing for any adult. I would never speak or write that way about anyone who was not actually walking on water in front of me. So, but they think Obama can walk on water, but he doesn't need to, because he already has proven that he's God, basically. So they don't care. But what Obama's saying here is obviously ridiculous. There's nothing that the president's doing that's undermining democracy. There are irregularities. We've already found them. There are some weak spots and some shortcomings in this. So what's the issue? Oh, and by the way, the Democrats went along with the Russia collusion hoax for 4 years, which never had any evidence, and they used fake information through a criminal legal process to go after Trump campaign officials, to try to ensnare the president himself, to bring charges against General Flynn. That's right. They weaponized the federal bureaucracy against an incoming administration. Obama and his team did that. Now they want to talk about undermining democracy? Obama was a part of a coup, friends. Part of a coup. That's what that was. Trying to at least hobble, if not destroy, an incoming Republican administration. And Obama knew about it. They discussed it in front of him. No problem. And he knew more about it than we even have been able to prove at this point. Obviously, the guy's the president. You think James Comey was running all this stuff, all these operations against Trump's people, and they weren't having conversations in the Oval Office, off the record and held at the highest level, that's what was going on? Come on, folks. We all know. We're not idiots. Everything they've shown us so far, all the evidence has proven just how high up that conspiracy went. Now they want to lecture us about undermining democracy? I'm going to need to take out the bleep button to tell them what I think of them for this. This is absurd. But oh yes, that's what America needs right now. Another Obama lecture. Maybe he can tell us about foreign policy, as in how to have America go around the world bowing and begging for forgiveness all the time and get hit with a lot of terrorist attacks and preside over lots of terrorist-inspired disasters. That would be great, right? That's what we really need. Let's have Obama give us a lecture on all that. Really, really smart stuff going on there. Undermining democracy by bringing challenges in court. They just stick with the talking points. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that they already had a court victory yesterday. There's an automatic, there's a hand recount, I should say, going on in Georgia right now. And yesterday, there was a victory where a court in Pennsylvania said that, no, they actually can have the Democrat Secretary of State of Pennsylvania just decide on a whim to extend out a ballot deadline even further than it had been extended. She just said, yeah, we're going to make it even later to get the final tally for these ballots in. So we're going to go. No, if something doesn't come in by a certain date, it doesn't count. That's what the law says. The state legislature gets to determine election law in Pennsylvania, not one Democrat official. And the court ruled in favor of the Trump campaign. So they've already won a court battle this week over ballot counting in the most critical state of all right now. But it's undermining democracy, the Democrats say. Could we just get the Democrats to lay off the reckless, stupid Trump is a Nazi analogies can we get a moratorium on this for a few weeks? You think? Maybe? Anything we could do to get them to stop suggesting that Donald Trump is just about to become. He's in the antechamber of Hitlerism. He's just a step away from becoming the next Adolf Hitler. Are they just going to take this up to the very end? I think the answer is yes. Among the most pompous and I would say worthless as to her body of work TV journalists you could think of, really a throwback to when these people were elevated well beyond what was deserved because the internet wasn't that big a thing. And if you're on cable news, that's how people were getting their information. Is Christiane Amanpour, who is probably got the single most arrogant but also not really clear where it comes from accent I've ever heard in my life. It's kind of British, but it's also fancier than British, and that's why she's on television, 'cause she sounds so fancy. Well, here she is comparing the current president of the United States and his administration to the Nazis and their book burning and their purges. I kid you not. Play 12.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Christiane Amanpour in London. This week, 82 years ago, Kristallnacht happened. It was the Nazis' warning shot across the bow of our human civilization that led to genocide against a whole identity. And in that tower of burning books, it led to an attack on fact, knowledge, history, and truth. After 4 years of a modern-day assault on those same values by Donald Trump, the Biden-Harris team pledges a return to norms, including the truth.
A return to norms. There you go, folks. Norms like Republicans getting compared to Nazis. And isn't it also fascinating? Can we drill down into this for 1 second? Who are the ones that want to ban books and thoughts and publications that they don't like? It's the left. It's the woke. It's the libs. There's no doubt about this. There's no argument about this. So isn't it fascinating that they keep accusing Trump of fascism and authoritarianism, and yet the authoritarian tendencies, when we're talking about actions taken, all come from the left. They're the ones that want to control. They're the ones that want to get to dictate every aspect of your life. And we see this even with the COVID pandemic and their response to that. Any opportunity to wield power over other human beings, the left leaps at that. They get excited by this idea. They want more of that. And yet Trump is the Nazi. Understand this. For them, a return to norms just means a return to being able to call Republicans Nazis without anybody really fighting back. With Republicans going with the old Bush, Romney, McCain, that's not so nice. That's not the kind of rhetoric we need in the country right now. And Trump calls them out for it. They don't like that. They want to be able to get away with the smears, with the nastiness, with the unfair, with the slanders. They prefer that situation. And that's what they had for a long time. They got used to that. Just like they got used to having an advantage on the Supreme Court for decades, knowing that ultimately on major social issues, the left would just get what it wants. They'd gotten used to a form of politics in this country where Republicans just take it, just get slapped or punched in the face and say, well, I don't want to escalate things, so I think we should just ask to meet in the middle. No, I think that's a bad idea. And I don't think we're going back there. But this is standard. I mean, this is an opening. I think that was CNN International. Because her fancy accent plays so much better all over the world. I'm a news anchor. I've interviewed famous people, therefore you should listen to me. Who cares? Really not a particularly bright person, but sounds like one. And that's all that it really took for a long time to be on cable news. If you sounded like someone that a stupid person thinks is smart, then you're good. Then you're good. If you're out of central casting for the quirky British professor who knows everything, a little bit prickly, but I have read so many books and I'm so brilliant. That's all. If you did that, you're great. Look at that guy, Piers Morgan. Put him on. Oh, the guy's got a fancy sounding British accent. Put him on TV. He'll know stuff. That didn't go so well. So Norms that we've established in the past that they want to go back to include calling Republicans Nazis for no reason, and saying that we don't care about people dying. This is one of the other ways that the left argues. I mentioned the straw men that Obama would create in argument so that he could completely annihilate a fake opposition argument. There is no one who's saying the things that he's saying. You know, some people say we should do this thing, and we should burn down the whole country, and we should, we should just do this other thing. I say let's do the really cool thing that everyone's going to love. It's going to make it better for you. And that was the way it was, right? That was you can either be with the evil bad people, or you can be with the awesome, cool, smart people that are going to make everything awesome. That was the classic Obama tactic on every debate. It wasn't what's the good faith argument from the other side. I'm not saying he should have agreed with the argument, but he wouldn't even present that argument. Like some people want to just, take babies and eat them, and then they want to just, destroy every aspect of society as we know it and ban you from being able to watch TV. And then other people over here, they're going to try to give you everything for free. It's going to be awesome. You know what I mean? That was the classic Obama breakdown. And yet now it's coming back in a way. You're going to see more of this because as Republicans make the argument against Democrat policies, whether it's Nancy Pelosi in the House or against the Biden administration. I know I'm not trying to get too far ahead of where we are with these court challenges, folks, but we got to look into the future here a little bit, right? We have to see at least what the pathways are. So that's why I keep trying to pull myself back a little bit. But here's Joy Behar gives you another sense of what is a common approach for the people that are claiming we're going to have a return to normalcy and they demand unity, are also the people who say things like this. Play 9.
I just want to add this one thing. It occurs to me that Trump is so evil at this point. I really think he's evil. I think he absolutely relishes the idea that things are getting worse and it's going to be in Biden's lap. I really think he likes that. That's how sick he is.
He's such a monster that he wants more people to die because Joe Biden's like a super genius who's read like many books. And Trump comes in and he's just like, I want everyone to die. I want everyone to just like not live anymore because I'm pouting because I didn't win.
Now, that's Joy Behar's point of view on this, but I'll just explain to everybody right now that she's not alone on the left in thinking this way. They really believe. I remember I was on Bill Maher's show right before the pandemic really hit. We had not yet had a single death in the United States in the pandemic. And already I was being booed by that audience and yelled at and everything because I was saying, guys, the president's going to try to do what he can. He doesn't want people to die. They reject that. And my point to them wasn't even he doesn't want people to die because he's a good guy and he's a moral person, which I actually think he is a good guy. And I think he does want to do what's best for people. I really do truly believe that. But it's bad for him politically, right? I mean, you don't want, no matter who you are, no matter what kind of government we're talking about, when people start dying in a pandemic, it's bad for your brand, you could say, bad for your grip on power, even an authoritarian, dictatorship. You got to do something to keep your people alive in a pandemic, or else they're going to storm the walls of the castle. They wouldn't accept that either. Trump is so monstrous, so indifferent to human suffering that he doesn't even care if people die from the pandemic. That was the approach. Even before a single American had died. I was there. I was the one trying to make the case. And I remember it was one of these moments where I felt a little bit stunned and then was annoyed at myself because, of course, I should know that that's how Trump deranged they were. But there was a part of me that really wanted to believe, just as an American, that going into this, we could all agree that any sitting president wouldn't want mass casualties from a pandemic on his watch. And can we all agree? No, we could not all agree with that. I mean, I've already said this. if the Islamic State had tried to invade America under the Obama presidency, I would have been rooting for Commander-in-Chief Obama to deploy our forces and, get it done, right? There are some lines you think that we can draw here that aren't, but nope. They really believed and still believe, more so than ever now, that Trump is entirely indifferent to human suffering, doesn't care how many people die. They have created this caricature of a monster. I mean, they think that he is morally equivalent to a serial killer. But remember, now, after calling us all Nazis and white supremacists and white nationalists and saying we're destroying democracy, now we're going to have unity and a return to normalcy. That's not going to last 3 months. No matter who ends up winning this presidency, there's no return to normalcy, as I've been saying. This is absurd. What does that even mean? As you know, one of my favorite questions to ask about liberal stupidity. What does that even mean? Return to normalcy.
It means that Joy Behar's going to be able to say that, the president is like, he doesn't even care. He's such a monster. He doesn't even care. He's just going to just to have everyone's going to die and it's terrible and he's orange. There you go. And let's pay her a couple $1 million, put her on TV so, liberal housewives have somebody to watch during the day. It's absurd.
This is a moment of great national challenge. COVID-19 is surging. Small businesses are shuttering. Families are struggling. People continue to lose jobs and not gain new ones. We just had a divisive and hard-fought presidential election. But instead of working to pull the country back together so that we can fight our common enemy, COVID-19, Republicans in Congress are spreading conspiracy theories, denying reality, and poisoning the well of our democracy. The Republicans should stop their shenanigans about an election that President Trump has already lost and focus their attention on the immediate issue at hand, providing relief to a country living through the COVID health and economic crises.
What's the rush, Chuck? They can walk and chew gum at the same time in the administration. It's a very big federal government. A lot of people doing a lot of things. It's okay. We can hire some lawyers. A country of 330 million people. We can hire, a few hundred lawyers to bring lawsuits in different states. That's fine. We can handle that. It's important that we actually know what happened in the election. It's important. The margins are small enough that it's worth asking the question whether there was substantial enough fraud or even just mistakes. And we know there were mistakes, and we also kind of know there was fraud too, right? Just don't know how much. So we're going to find out more. Consider this a tune-up of our democracy. Consider this, honing in on what works and what doesn't for election security. Right? Don't we want that? Don't we want this to be a finely tuned, a well-oiled machine of vote casting and vote counting? Something we should have thought about a long time ago. And they made a lot of changes this year. The argument in favor of all this is completely rational, but instead you've got Chuck Schumer talking about poisoning the well of our democracy. Oh, boy. Oh, and also pretending that Biden here has a mandate. That's what they're going to go with. This guy squeaked out a victory with the entire media in his pocket, with pollsters doing propaganda polls for him, constantly showing him far, far ahead of Trump. And it's not reality. It was all bull, as we know. And he may have squeaked out this narrow victory in a pandemic year, lost seats for his party in the House, lost seats in the Senate, or at least didn't get the Senate majority, I should say. And it's a mandate? Oh, that's what they're claiming. Play one.
The biggest change since Election Day is that Donald Trump, who was not for helping us in COVID and who was against the HEROES bill, has lost. That was an overwhelming referendum by the American people. So yes, we think there has been change. It should move things in our direction. We're willing to sit down and talk. They haven't wanted to talk. They seem to have stuck to their position.
But let me just also say that what Joe Biden got in this election was a mandate to address the challenges that our country faces, as well as to have a positive initiative on how to grow the economy in a fair way. And in order to do that, we must address the COVID, the pandemic.
This election was maybe more a referendum on who can handle COVID well than anything else. The Donald Trump approach was repudiated. The Joe Biden approach was embraced. And that's why we think there's a better chance to get a bill in the lame duck. If only the Republicans would stop embracing the ridiculous shenanigans that Trump is forcing them to do in the election, and focus on what people need.
Everything he said there is nonsense. But I think it's important that you do hear what is being spewed by Democrat leadership. And those are the two most powerful elected Democrats in the country right now, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. And they're telling you that there was a mandate. I mean, that's laughable, right? We all understand that. No, what we should have now would be what they're also saying at the same. He has a mandate, but also he's going to be a moderate who reaches out to the other side and comes up with common sense solutions. But he's got a mandate. That's just a way of saying we're going to pretend that this is all bringing America together because that sounds good and makes our side, makes the Democrats feel good. And then the moment Republicans say, no, I don't think that amnesty is a good idea. No, I'm not really on board for the socialism. Can't say that I think the Green New Deal is intelligent or sane. They're going to say, we have a mandate for action. And they're going to try to steamroll us, which is why this Georgia Senate runoffs is so important.